28th episode in our first series of the Sew Ab Fab podcast. I'm Ali and I run Bobbin's Sewing School, and my co-host is Caroline of the sewing business Sew Ab Fab. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Ali. Hello, everybody. So in our podcast, we introduce you to guests that are integral to home sewing or have connections to the sewing industry. Many of our guests have small to medium-sized sewing-related businesses and or provide necessary resources and products to help you as sewers.
Oh, brilliant, Caroline. Thank you. And so what's your week been like this week? I know you've had classes. Exciting.
I know, it's lovely to have people actually in the studio and sharing the space with me again. So, yep, we had a huge variety this week. We've had beginners crochet, know your sewing machine class, which is always lovely, and beginners felting. So, yeah, it's been wonderful. How about you?
Yeah, I've had classes too. It's nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces too, which is lovely. So, and it's every day's a new day and there's excitement. There's a real buzz again, which is really lovely.
There is. And do you know what? It's quite interesting. What I've picked up on is actually people are just pleased to be out of the house and chatting to someone different. Yeah. So I have found, I don't know if you have, Ali, that the classes have been slower because everybody's been busy chatting and are very relaxed and chilled.
Oh no, it's really good, isn't it? It's really good. And there seems to be a real sort of like uptake with, I think it's maybe summer sewing. We're all getting a bit more into summer sewing and enjoying the weather, which is, thank goodness, at long last seems to be on the change.
I know. Yeah. Isn't it lovely? We've had 2 days on the trot that have actually been dry.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, it's really, really good. So let's hope it stays that way. So I don't know about you, Caroline, but we've got we're always very busy, but we always find time to do extra things. And I have just signed up to a quilt along.
Wow.
I'm not a quilter, no. I'm not a patchwork or a quilter really, but I couldn't resist. And actually it's being run by our guests today, and or not run, it's being co-run because they are co-running it. And it's the Alaskan Rainbow quilt along. So the Alaskan Rainbow is a quilt pattern by at Laundry Basket Quilts. Ooh. And two guys at Fiber Hustle who have a podcast YouTube channel on YouTube. They are running this Alaskan Rainbow quilt along and also a knitting quilt along. That doesn't make sense. They're also running a knit along. And so I thought, well, as Emma and Tracey, I found it through their podcast, as Emma and Tracey are doing their bit, I thought I better sign up. Not that I sign up, but I have. Oh. I mean, I'm never very good at sew alongs or quilt alongs. How about you?
No. I love the idea of them. I genuinely love them. I really do. And I start them and I get all my material and everything else. But I think it's because I then have so much going on my plate that I can't give it the time that it justifies, which is a real shame, because actually there is no reason in the world why you can't put that time aside. So hats off to you, Ali. Can't wait to see your quilt.
Well, we'll see. So if you can follow the hashtags and it will be Hustle That Rainbow. Hustle That Rainbow is
I mean, that's a great hashtag.
It's a great hashtag, isn't it? It is.
Well, see, now you set me off, Ali. My mind is spinning.
I know.
So I was like, so obviously the quilt and the knitting's rainbow as well, is it?
Yeah, I think it's all to do with Pride Month, which is June, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's all going to be in conjunction with. And
I might have to have a go at the knitting then.
Actually, it's a lovely. You'll have to look at their YouTube episode, and it's a sort of like a triangle, a long elongate. Yeah, shawl. Yeah.
Cool.
With
might be able to manage that.
Yeah. So I know. Well, I am knitting a cardigan, but I'll tell you about that another day. Anyway, I don't know about you, Caroline, but I've been gardening quite a bit, trying to get everything tidied up. The weeds are growing like crazy.
Well, it's been so damp, hasn't it? And then all of a sudden the temperature's picked up a couple of degrees, and they've just like gone pop, 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 pop.
They have. So I'm eating rhubarb every day. I've been eating rhubarb every day for probably 5-6 weeks now. But
wow.
Yeah,
mine's too young to eat, because you can't eat it for 2 years, can you?
No, you can't. No, they say don't pick it for 2 years. You need to eat it mature. But yes, so it's been not too many crumbles, because that's a bit naughty, but I do have it on my breakfast cereal.
I was going to say, you having it as a compote.
I do. I love that.
Delicious. Yeah, you can make rhubarb gin, Ali.
Well, I know I could.
Rhubarb vodka. Oh, no.
Well, you do. Don't you just do that? Don't you just buy vodka and put the fruit in?
Yeah, that's it. You do. Shove it in the freezer.
Is that what you do?
I think so. Don't quote me from the person that doesn't drink, but I think that's what you do. I have to ask Penny, my friend. She's forever doing it. So no, I think that is what you do. But but rhubarb's a delicious fruit anyway. So
it is. It can be a bit sharp at the beginning, but you get to it. It's a bit like going into cold water. It's a bit cold at the beginning, and then having said that, I had the most amazing birthday present. My birthday was last month, as you know, and I got paddleboarding lessons.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. They do it here at Rutland. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm going to wait for it to warm up a bit before I do that.
Next thing, Ali, you'll be into wild water swimming, and I won't be able to stop you.
No. No. That's the good thing about the test. You can't jump in it.
It's a bit shallow.
It is a bit shallow. Well, no, you'd be told off by the fishermen.
Yeah, exactly.
However, the stream outside of my little window here is looking really, really enticing on hot days. You sort of like think, oh, I could cool my toes.
We've done that, haven't we? We've often sat in the sewing room and gone, oh, wouldn't it be nice just to take our shoes off and paddle?
Yeah, lovely. Anyway, I think we we're all having a lovely time, and it's great to be getting back up and running. So shall we introduce our guests?
So today's guests are two lovely ladies that are firstly cousins and also co-hosts of the Curly Seams podcast or vlogcast. Hello, ladies. Welcome to Emma and Tracey.
Hello. How are you both? It's lovely chatting to you today, be it over the airwaves. I know Zoom is a bit of a strange one, but that's how it is at the moment. How are you anyway?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really good, and thank you so much for inviting us on. It's really great of you to ask us to come along.
Oh, thank you for coming. And you, Tracey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good today as well, thanks. Yes, the sun was shining this morning. It's not now, but so it was a good day.
Is it still raining in Rutland, Caroline?
It is. There's a permanent feature here. Well, it's very grey now. We've had rain this morning. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. You are strides ahead of us, having been podcasting your Curly Seams series for a couple of years now. Can we call it a podcast, or do you prefer a vlog, as you are a visual podcast?
We had this debate on our very first podcast, if you remember. We do call it a podcast, actually. It's a podcast. Or we've heard various people around the internet call it fibre casts and wall casts, all that kind of thing, to try and describe the type of topic that they're talking about as well. But it's just a podcast, I think, as far as I'm concerned. But we did have some debate, didn't we, to begin with?
Yes, in the very first episode, we were trying to make our mind up what it was actually classified as, and I don't think we ever came to any resolution about it, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, well, I personally really love watching you both, and I get quite excited when I know you have a new episode coming up. I have to say, you really helped me get through a few tricky days over the last year, and I love seeing what you've been up to. I'd love to know what you've planned for the future, but firstly, I'd like to ask, what inspired you to start Curly Seams?
We went away on a trip together. We often used to before COVID and everything. We used to go away a lot to America, to QuiltCon and to quilt festivals like that. And we went to one in Nashville, and we talked about it briefly whilst we were away in Nashville. And then we did our usual and came home and then never did anything about it. and somebody sort of pipped us to the post on it almost as well. So we were trying to come up with a way of doing it because obviously for us, we wanted to be able to show what we'd been making and what we were working on. So it had to be more of a visual podcast rather than an audio, I think.
Yeah, and that's lovely. It's lovely to see what you've been doing. It's
Yeah,
very sort of almost like textural in a way.
Yes. So we sort of sat around the kitchen table one afternoon and decided that we'd go for it, didn't we, Tracey?
Well, I think my recollection might be slightly different, actually. I actually got a phone call. A phone call one Sunday, I think it was, saying, shall we have a cup of coffee on Tuesday? And we used to meet up for coffee fairly regularly. And whilst you're with me, can you bring this, and this? This, and this being some quilts that I was working on at the time. When I got there was a camera set up and I didn't have a choice.
No. You knew it. You knew it was happening. You knew it was
suspected. I suspected. But,
so you'd really suggest then that Emma was the deciding factor, Tracey?
I think it was definitely Emma's podcast, and I joined in.
I needed her to join it with me. I needed Tracey beside me to show things. Well,
I'll tell you what, when the first podcast went out, I have never felt so sick in all my life.
Oh,
I felt so incredibly sick.
Text messages saying, I feel sick.
Oh,
Shall I press the button to go, yeah, just do it. And then I went and hid in a corner. And for a couple of days, I kept thinking, oh, who's watched it? Who's watching it? Oh, shall I go and watch it myself? I couldn't watch it. And then my husband shouted out, how long have you two been doing a podcast? What?
She never told him. She never told him we were doing it.
Oh, I love it. So I'll tell you a guilty secret. I save it for when I'm working on really awkward things. So if I'm doing something that I don't particularly want to do, I think, now how can I make this much more exciting? So I put you two on.
I love it.
Nice.
I love it.
Oh, I do.
So who influenced or inspired you on your sewing journeys?
Ooh.
For me, I started sewing when I was about 12. I can't remember sewing earlier than 12. But I remember being, I was in a household where I had a grandmother that was knitting, that I lived in. My dad's mum, she knitted, and my mum knitted and crocheted. And when she sewed, she would sew in batches. So she would do lots and lots and lots of things, So like she'd make 20 pairs of boys' trousers or something, or 20 stuffed elephants at a time. And then she'd put the sewing machine away for 6-7 months. It wouldn't come out again. But then when it did come out, I remember being fascinated by, she just did things really quickly. She was in full sewing mode, and then everything would go away. But I mean, I never got involved in it at that point. But I think I just picked it. It was osmosis, I think. I was just watching what she was doing. But it wasn't until I went to school I really sort of got the bug. And it was, doing the normal... we all did them, I think, at that point, aprons and things like that.
Yeah,
I
remember.
You said you did something different, didn't you, Emma? I can't remember what you said you did now.
Yeah, I did a nightshirt.
A nightshirt, that's right. Yeah,
I did a wraparound skirt.
I had a customer who told me about the wraparound skirt. She had to make one of those as well. It was the worst nightmare of her life, and she never picked up a sewing needle again ever.
I did a little blue with white flowers. It was like a little blue and white flowered apron with the gathering across the front and the little pocket.
That sounds sweet.
Yeah, it's just, I still got it.
Yeah, I still got mine as well.
Tracy's still got hers, haven't you?
I wear mine.
Oh, mine's a little bit like small.
Oh, mine as well, but I still wear it.
Mine was never wearable.
I'd look like a little diner waitress, I could be like serving a burger in a diner. So Emma, who inspired you?
I didn't really have anybody sewing wise. My mum was a knitter, and I came to sewing sort of 20s into my 20s really. And it was mainly self-taught along the way. Mm-hmm. I think I've got a friend, Heather, who lives over in Swindon, who I spent a lot of time with, and I think she was the one that sort of gave me the basics really to get me going. And encouraged me, and she still does, actually, funnily enough. We're still in touch, and she still eggs me on. And
so you both have lived in the States and Canada, you know, and it's such a big craft over there to sew, isn't it? Do you think that living over there maybe paved your sewing careers slightly?
Well, it did, definitely, for me, for sure it did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly from the quilting point of view, because I discovered Simply Quilts on cable TV. So if I hadn't discovered that, I don't think I would have picked up. I mean, I knew I had made 2 quilts, I think, before, both of which I kind of left and didn't think much of.
Yeah.
But watching the television programs and then having access to the materials made a huge difference.
Yeah,
I think we just didn't have access to materials at that point. And I remember coming home on vacation once while we were there and trying to find somewhere to buy some fabric, and I just couldn't. You know, there was no way. You know, you probably get something from Laura Ashley.
Yeah.
We didn't have a John Lewis or anything near us, so I didn't go into shops like that. And there was one little craft shop in a local town, but it was like one of those old-fashioned shops, and you had to wait to be served, and you know, they'd get things down from the shelves for you and that kind of thing, so you couldn't fondle the fabric or anything. So yeah, but in America it's completely different. Of course, you were surrounded by it, and it was like heaven.
Sweet shop.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, even, you know, going to somewhere like Walmart. I mean, Walmart was full of fabric and toys and things like that for you. It was amazing.
Yeah. So do you think it helped with you choosing the careers or the path of the teaching that you've gone down? Do you think being over there inspired that?
I think for me, it maybe gave me a taste of it, because we at that time, we were living out in Alberta in the middle of nowhere. Right. And you had, because my husband was forces, you had 200 families living in very close proximity to each other on a military base with nothing to do around you. So it was at that point that I started a little sewing group, and probably, you know, started doing my first sort of teaching really whilst I was out there. And it was when we came back from there that I then decided I was going to go on and I was going to do my teaching certificate. And so yeah, it gave me a taster of teaching, and I think that probably kick-started me into deciding, this is the way I'm going to go.
Oh, fabulous. And how about you, Tracey? Do you think it had a bearing? Do you think living over in the States had a bearing on you following the path?
Well, that's where I discovered Longarm quilting. So yeah, we told this story recently on one of our podcasts, actually. So my journey into Longarm quilting came because I took a composting course.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So I lived in San Jose, and the city had a composting course that you could attend, and in return you got free composting bins. Basically, that was the setup. But the woman that was teaching me to compost, she was a quilter, and of course I was doing tops, making patchwork tops, because I was watching Simply Quilts, but I didn't know anything about Longarm quilting. But she came for a coffee one day, and she said to me, basically, that I was a topper, not a quilter. I was a topper. And I thought, I was really upset. I thought, what do you mean I'm a topper? I make quilts. No, she says, no, you've not finished them. She says, until they're stitched together, they're not. I said, yeah, but I don't like that bit. And so she says, no, I can put you in touch with someone that can do it for you. And I went, what?
Oh, wow.
And so that was the start of it, really. So she gave me the name of this man that I phoned, and he was very nice, very accommodating, and quilted 8 of my quilts for me. And as soon as I got them back, I said to my husband, this is what I want to do when we go home. So I knew, that's what I wanted to do.
So it set you up in a career, really, didn't it?
For sure. Yeah, a strange way to get into quilting, I have to say, doing a worm composting course in particular. But
life sends curveballs everywhere, doesn't it? Every which way, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I started through a young farmers competition. Who
did you really?
Right.
Yeah, it is strange, isn't it?
It's strange, yeah.
So obviously you both teach. What do you mostly enjoy about that? And do you think
now that we're starting to see an ease in restrictions, you'll be able to teach again soon?
Ooh. What do you enjoy most about it, Tracy?
I like it when your students, most of my students tend to be 70 or 80. I have 80-year-olds. They're quite elderly. I have taught younger people in the past, but in the main, the people I teach are of the older variety, and they're interesting to teach. I have to say, they're very interesting to teach, and this is meant in the nicest possible way. But I can imagine it's very much like teaching children.
Okay. But with a few stories along the way, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
they're incredibly interesting, but the way in which you teach them, you have to think very carefully how you're teaching them, because they don't often always retain the things that you're telling them. So, or they don't, you have to have more than one way of teaching them, because they don't readily adapt to the one method you'd prefer to teach them.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And of course, I suppose unlike children, they can be very vocal in telling you whether they do or they don't like something.
Oh yes, they don't hold back, do they?
No, they don't hold back.
No.
I absolutely love teaching it. As a group of people, I love teaching them, because you do get the amazing stories along the way. They tell you all sorts. Their life stories are just incredible.
Yeah.
But the nicest thing is when they come, the light bulb goes on. And then they run with something that you've shown them how to do, and then you'll see them in 2 weeks' time, and they've taken it, expanded that, and made 10 of something, using that technique or process that you've shown them.
Brilliant.
And they've gone 2 or 3 steps beyond where I'd got them to, or I myself had got myself to, so
yes.
That I absolutely love, because you feel like you've definitely got the message over. And that's as much as you need to do, and the fact that, well, for me, if a student can be better than me, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah,
that's great.
What about you, Emma?
Well, like Tracy said, exactly the same sort of concept, really. But also, I think for me, for a lot of them, are in the same age bracket as Tracy's as well. And some of them come into classes very, very nervous, very timid. And it's almost like they found their tribe, their community almost, and how they support each other and help each other. That's, that to me, I think is wonderful. Somebody who's very shy or timid comes in and is welcomed, with open arms and embraced. And yeah, it's like finding your little tribe of people that you belong to, isn't it? Because I think we all want to belong to something.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. And they just love being a part of it. They love being involved in things. And if you ask them to, oh, can you test this for me and see how this works, they think that's the best thing ever. So yeah, for me, it's just seeing them all develop and embrace each other, really.
Oh no, it's lovely. It's something that Caroline and I have discussed, is the friendships that are formed through it too, through their classes.
Sure.
We've all got a similar sort of like interest, and it really does mean that you find people, as you say, your tribe. It's important, isn't it?
It is.
But they all come from different walks of life. It's incredible, different social backgrounds as well. But everybody has that common denominator. We all stitch, and we all, well, most of us do other crafts as well. So it's lovely because you can share those too.
Yeah.
So I know, I love it. But I think we will carry on Zoom. We do a lot of Zoom. We meet twice a week with one particular group, and I think that will carry on, because it's just the ease of it, to be honest. The fact that you can sit there in your pajamas if you wanted to. None of them do. I might, but they don't know that.
Well, not on Zoom are the big exhibitions, and I know, Tracy, you demonstrate and teach at exhibitions. So how do you think that differs?
Oh, I love going to exhibitions. It's brilliant, because you get all walks of life coming up asking you questions, and I love it when they, because I do a lot of Longarm demonstrations. Of course, the Longarm are a considered purchase. They're not cheap. They're a considered purchase, I really like it when you get people coming up saying, these are expensive, aren't they? Why should I get one of these then? And then you say, well, let me show you what it can do. And then you say, would you like to have a go? Oh, no, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, but it's fine, you can have a go. And then they go, oh, yeah. And then, Deirdre, come and look at this. This is fantastic, this is. I just love it. I just love it. All the different people you meet and the conversations you have at the booth are just incredible. And customers come up, of course, that you've been to before. They come up and have a chat with you, and you catch up and everything they've been doing.
Yeah.
But I also like the sales side of it as well. So if you are demonstrating with a view to making a sale, that's a different thing altogether, because you've got to have a different hat on at that point. But yeah, no, I love all of it. Yeah, and I get to work with people because I work on my own most of the time. So well, all the time really. So until I'm teaching, but
they're very tiring though, aren't they?
Incredibly tiring. Yeah. But you're on a high, really. You know, you get up in the morning knowing that you're going to be on your feet for at least 10 hours.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So what does a working day at the show look like? Does it start very early in the morning, well before the doors open?
Well, it all depends on what time the show opens, but generally speaking, you're on the stand at least 45 minutes before the show opens, because you know, you want to make sure the stand looks nice. You've cleaned everything, you've got everything, all the demonstration pieces out. Maybe in the case of the Longarm, you have to load another piece of fabric for the demonstration on that day. So if that's the case, it might be an hour early you get in. But I like to try and get that all done the night before if possible. So but it all depends how things have gone, you know, and just how tired you are. But you understand the show opens, and it depends where the booth is. If the booth is near the front of the shopping areas, then you could have a lot of people quite quickly. If not, you could be waiting for 45 minutes before somebody comes on the stand. But what we tend to do now, and I say we because when I'm on the stand there'll be somebody else with me, we'll start quilting straight away. So we'll start demonstrating, and basically we're just doodling or just trying to, you know, we're just warming up basically. And then what generally happens, people will come and stand around you and look at what you're doing, and then at that point then some people will come and say, well, I've come to see this, can you show me X, Y and Z? Yes. Or other people will say, oh, that looks interesting, do you mind if I watch? And you know, that's fine. And I'll say, would you like to try? Some people do, some people don't. So it depends really. You get a whole mixture of people, and then at some point during the day you've got the school groups coming through. And I love the school groups. I really do like those, because you can just capture their imaginations completely. You know, this is the machine they've never seen in their home, you know, domestic science or whatever. They don't call it that now, do they? But I don't know, what do they call the sewing bit now? Textiles, isn't it? Textiles.
Design and technology.
Yeah, design and technology. Yeah.
Design and technology,
yeah.
Isn't it?
So but yeah, they all of them, all the kids normally want to have a try. So so that's interesting. So and some of them are just naturals at it, you know, some of them aren't. And then you get the fashion students coming through. Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to meet everybody.
Brilliant.
Yeah, but the day doesn't finish normally till about 5 or 5:30, sometimes 6 if the show's open till 6. And of course, at some point during the day, you're trying to get a coffee or, you know, something to eat. But we rotate round, so everyone gets like a half an hour break at some point or other. And then basically it's out to the showroom, have something to eat and collapse.
I was going to say it's a long day, isn't it? Because you're performing all day. You've got and you're thinking all day. You don't have time to sort of switch off. So yeah, it must be very exhausting. Yeah. So you've both got long arm quilters, and Tracey, you said there that you, I think, were one of the first to get your long armed quilter into the country, which was I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing that they hadn't come over before, but well done you. And Emma, you've not long had yours. How have they changed your lives? I mean, you've touched on it, Tracey, but would you be able to live without it?
Well, I mean, mine is not so much a business tool, really. It's more of a guilty little pleasure.
So I wondered,
Yeah, I mean, having watched Tracey doing it, you know, for all of these years, I've lusted after one for a long time, and eventually the right one sort of popped up. And I mean, I love mine. I love my machine. It does take up quite a lot of space.
Yes.
But I do like the freedom that it gives me of being able to throw a quilt on there and to be able to quilt it myself. Not brilliantly sometimes because I'm still learning, but yeah, I do love mine. I wouldn't be without mine, I don't think.
I wouldn't be without mine for sure. So, well, obviously, I need mine anyway for the business side of things. So the principal part of my work is Longarm quilting for other people or teaching it.
Yes.
So I need them for that. But this afternoon is a non-working day for me today. So today I have actually just gone and loaded a quilt for myself. So again, it's lovely just to be able to think that you can complete the process yourself and you haven't got to worry about it, you know. So
yeah. So it's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure not and a chore, but a pleasure and a necessary tool for you, really, in that respect.
Yeah, it is exactly that. It is a tool. I think that's the way to look at it. It is a tool, and it's another sewing machine basically.
Yes.
You know, so and you know,
And
it just happens to be on a 14-foot or a 12-foot table.
Yeah, you do need a bit of space for them, don't you?
So having worked at a show, you go to these big exhibitions in America as regular customers, as it were.
Yeah.
What is the draw to go into those shows? How do they differ to the ones here?
Ooh, size.
Size, and sometimes they're in a slightly warmer climate, so they, you know,
beneficial.
Most are in February, and it tends to be, you know, the south states of America almost. So it's a tad warmer sometimes, not always. But yeah, they're bigger. The variety of tools and fabrics that you can get at them is just astounding, really.
Good chance of a holiday as well, isn't it, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when we've gone before, we've added a couple of days before and after, haven't we, to travel around, and you know, you'll go to a museum or something, or you'll go and see something in the local area. Yeah, we haven't gone for much more than 7 days though, have we? 10 days we go for normally, isn't it? It seems so long. I can't remember. It's been so long since we were let out.
The last one we went to was Nashville in 2019. But yeah, like Tracey said, the shows are usually sort of four days long. We usually go a couple of days before, and we sometimes try and get a couple of days at the end of it as well.
Yeah. Wow. With your other hat on, Tracey, you are a judge.
Oh, I am, yes.
Yes. So what does that involve, or how did that happen for you?
Well, I became a quilt judge in 2008. I qualified through the Quilters Guild of the British Isles. The reason I actually started doing the judging course was because I got my Longarm in 2000 when we came back from living in America, and I found that nobody knew much about Longarm quilting at all. So we were doing a lot of education about Longarm quilting in particular, and then Longarm quilting was being used in the shows, but nobody really understood what it was and wasn't really judging it in the way I thought they should have been judging it. So my thinking at the time was, well, if I trained to be a judge, then my specialism could be Longarm quilting, and then perhaps we could, you know, think about getting more judges involved in understanding what that type of technique is all about. So that was the reason I really got into it. Now, of course, you don't always get the opportunity to judge what you want to judge. So you have to judge what was given to you basically sometimes. So but yeah, so all of the judges that I trained with actually came to my house, and we did a whole training program for Longarm quilting here. So I did achieve that. That was something that I was really pleased about.
Brilliant.
And since then, I think similar training programs have happened around the country with other specialist type work in that, you know, it won't necessarily just be Longarm quilting. It could be some other kind of specialism, you know, maybe I don't know, some surface embellishment type work, so dyeing techniques, that kind of thing. They'll do training days just for that in particular sort of thing. So but sorry, what was the other question? No, I kind of went off piece then.
No, you've answered it. No, you've answered it. It was perfect.
I do talk to my machine. Do you talk to your machine at all, Emma?
Yeah, usually when it's not behaving.
Yeah.
It gets a right earful when it's I sort of threaten to throw it out the window on numerous occasions, because they can be, I don't know about Tracy's, but mine is quite temperamental, and it definitely has a character, and it does like to fight you sometimes with tension and threads and things like that. So we end up having stern words and a quick slap, and then we're back to work again. So
I had one machine that just wouldn't work on a weekend. It definitely refused to work on a weekend. And I actually remember one Sunday having to complete a quilt, and the machine just wasn't behaving at all. And I stood there looking. I said, "Please, I just need to get this job out today. Can you just work with me today? Go on, please." My husband came and said, "What on earth are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just talking nicely to it, so it work."
Did it respond?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
good.
Oh, wow. Gosh, do you know what? I can't believe how fast this past half an hour has gone. And we've got so much more to ask you, Emma and Tracey. Should we resume next week? I think that might be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it's been great and fun and interesting. So let's resume our chat next week, ladies.
I think that's a great idea. So we look forward to hearing more.
Bye for now.
Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you.
So if you enjoyed our podcast and you would like to hear more, please do subscribe, and you can find all details about us and the links to this show at www.soabfabpodcast.podbean.com. And you'll find our links and social media feeds. Keep in touch. And in the meantime, happy sewing, everybody. Happy
Happy sewing.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.